Hey everyone, welcome back to Chip Stock Investor. We've got an important quarterly earnings update for you on a company I take it you guys like, Qualcomm. As of this recording, Qualcomm, my video on Qualcomm's Automotive Investor Day, still the most watched video by far. So let's talk about their latest quarterly earnings, their fourth quarter fiscal year 2022. So the 3 months ended in September. First of all, I'd like to say I'm proud of you if you're sticking around for this one, because it's been ugly for Qualcomm this year, down 40% year to date, as you can see from this chart here on my ticker terminal. What is going on with Qualcomm stock? Well, since you're still here, just a quick reminder, hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss a video. Here at the end, after we review what the company said about their last quarter and the upcoming quarters ahead, we'll talk about why I think Qualcomm still has a tremendous amount of value and why I'm still buying. So stick around to the end for that. Quick recap here of the fourth quarter 2022 numbers. Here it goes. I'm sharing my screen again here. Here's a slide from the fiscal year 2022 earnings deck. So it certainly wasn't anything that just happened to close out 2022. Qualcomm hit it out of the park again, but full year 2022 revenue up 32%, earnings before tax up 47%, earnings per share up 47%. Fantastic year, building on what was already a fantastic 2021 as well. And then just scrolling down here, they do give us a nice segmentation of their revenue, handsets or smartphones, as well as RF front end or radio frequency front end. Those are the chips that enable a connection to a mobile network of some sorts. Huge growth. This is primarily being driven by the upgrade cycle to 5G, more chips and more valuable chips going into 5G handsets. But automotive up 41%. Lots of new digital cockpits going into modern vehicles, IoT or Internet of Things, a lot going on there as well. I wrote an article on the Motley Fool a couple of months back. We'll stick a link to that below on some new design wins Qualcomm is getting in laptops, specifically designing some stuff with Microsoft. And then, of course, Meta Platforms, aka Facebook. If you're unhappy with their huge spending spree on the metaverse, well, you know what? Qualcomm might be the company for you. IoT included in there is the Quest 2 and Quest 2 Pro chips that Qualcomm provides to Meta to help power this weird 3D internet future that we keep talking about. Okay, so what exactly was the problem that has caused Qualcomm stock to take yet another leg down this year? Let me show you. I've got one more slide here from Qualcomm's earnings deck. You can see the big deal going on here is the outlook for the first quarter of fiscal year 2023, corresponding to the last 3 months of calendar year 2022. This revenue outlook for 9.2 to 10 billion is actually as much as a 14% year-over-year decrease in revenue. Earnings per share down as much as 42% year-over-year. And then on an adjusted basis, earnings per share down as much as 30% year-over-year. Not a great look to kick off a new fiscal year. What is going on here? What's causing this big pullback in growth from all-time highs? Well, CFO Akash Palkhiwala said on the earnings call that, like other chip companies have been reporting, there is an excess of inventory out there in consumer electronics. Smartphones are one of those consumer electronics where there is too much inventory. Palkhiwala said that there's about 8 to 10 weeks of oversupply out there. They think it's going to take about 2 quarters to burn that off. So basically, smartphone manufacturers are saying, hold on, we don't need any more chips. Keep the excess that you have there, Qualcomm. We're going to work with what we've got. And so for about the next 2 quarters, we're going to see this decrease in smartphone revenue. Although automotive and IoT look like they will continue to grow year over year. So that's the good news. Smartphones are the bad news. A lot of this has to do with a slowdown here in the US. Also, management said that the supply chain faucet basically opened up again just in time for the China market to wither and die because of the no COVID, zero COVID policy and ensuing lockdowns. So a couple of factors here leading to this, what looks like will be a pretty short-term headwind for Qualcomm and some other chip stocks as well, with an outsized exposure to consumer electronics. So as I promised, here's why I think Qualcomm stock still has value, why we're still buyers here at Chip Stock Investor. Now, mind you, this is not personalized advice for you. I think this stock is going to be incredibly volatile as it works through this consumer electronics oversupply right now. I think the business is executing very well. So from that standpoint, from an actual business standpoint, I view this as a low risk investment. But if you think stock volatility equals risk, steer clear. Maybe not just Qualcomm stock, but stocks in general. That being said, using a few assumptions here in a model I ran on Qualcomm stock right now, the company generated just over $12.50 in earnings this past year. I think over the next 3 years, they're going to have an average earnings per share growth rate of 10%. I think that's conservative, but that's the rate I'm going with anyways, 10%. And then after 3 years, this thing levels off to 3% earnings per share growth. I'm using a discount rate of 11%, which gives, if that's true, gives a present value of about $194 on Qualcomm stock, about 75% upside from where it is right now. Basically, in a nutshell, to sum all of that nonsense up, I think the stock is a buy, especially if you think that this excess in inventory for smartphones will get cleared up here in the next 6 months or so. I like Qualcomm stock. As I continue to accumulate, this is quickly becoming one of my larger semiconductor holdings. In fact, one of my top 3 holdings. Unless something goes horribly wrong with the business, the core of the smartphone business that completely offsets expected growth in automotive and IoT, I think this business has a lot of upside in the coming years. I hope you found this video helpful and your analysis of Qualcomm after their ugly stock performance in the last quarter. If you did, again, I really appreciate it. If you hit subscribe, hit the bell so you get other videos from us as we put them out. Thanks again for tuning in. See you all again next time.